See the robot in action directly. So with the instrument beginning its checks, now's a good time to go over a little bit of the hardware and how it functions. So you'll notice here that the moving arm is actually equipped with a camera and a light that helps it identify the different positions it has on its flexible bench space. So the camera is actually scanning not just the positions themselves to make sure that they're aligned properly, but also with the QR codes here that are specific to each of the consumables that are found within the domino positions. Next up, from a hardware perspective, aside from the dominoes and the moving arm, you'll notice that there's a tool rack on the left-hand side of the instrument. The tool rack houses up to 4 different positions for both pipettes and labware grippers. The pipette range can go from 0.2 microliters all the way up to 10 milliliters, and that can be in single channel and 8-channel pipettes. Of course, with 8 channels, we're capped at 1.2 milliliters, but with single channels, we can go all the way up to 10 milliliters. Now, once the robot has completed his initial bench scans and communicates with the pipettes, he can then go and, of course, use each one of the pipettes fully autonomously from start to finish. So everything that we've programmed already in order to execute this run has and will be sent directly to the pipette in real time as the method with the instrument progresses. Just one thing with the pipettes, though. They have a Bluetooth capability. That's how the instrument communicates directly with the pipettes as the method progresses. Right here, there's a visual scan. We call it the geometry scan. The robot uses a direct laser and an image in order to compare it with an algorithm to understand if the robot has properly picked up the pipette and where the bottom of the pipette insertions actually are in order to optimize inserting of tips immediately afterwards. For 8 channels, you'll notice that there's a little hardware here that helps the tip insertion be smoother and require a lot less force. Andrew Plus is a little bit more like a cobot in this instance, where he's really not using that much force in order to do all of the tasks that he needs. So if you run into him, he will stop automatically, by the way. Next is this pipette tip recognition scan that the robot uses the same module to confirm, and then he'll just begin pipetting like you or I. Next up, from a hardware perspective, I talked about the Extraction Plus connected device. This is a device that fully automates solid phase extraction from start to finish, thanks to its cooperation directly with the robot. You might be hearing a little bit of that background noise. That's the connected pump that has just been automatically triggered by the OneLab automation system. So the connected pump can follow pressure profiles. And of course, from a hardware perspective, the robot is then capable of moving, thanks to this little add-on tool here, the micro or macro elution plate from the active position of the manifold here on the right-hand side, and moving it to the left-hand side of the manifold here in order to liberate the open space below it. By liberating in this way using the collar lifter, the robot will be opening up the space inside the manifold in order to then pick up an idle plate here in one of the domino positions fully autonomously, and then slowly come and position it into place. Now is a good point also to mention that you might notice here that there are some spacers within the vacuum manifold. This allows us to prop up or prop down the collection position so that we ensure that there's no gap between the actual bottom of the filter, the tapered filter tips from the plates and the actual collection labware. If there's too much of a gap, you could then have dripping or potential cross-contamination. So this little prop up here is actually very important for proper sample collection after your FPE. Now the robot then comes back in with the collar lifter to move the manifold back onto its position here on the right-hand active position. Now it's important to mention here that the Extraction Plus device does not necessarily have to work in plate format. There are different adapters that we can put on the top of the manifold collar here, such as 1cc, 3cc, or even 6cc cartridges. These little cartridges, of course, just need a small adapter that sits on the top, just like a microplate would, in order to then immediately change the type of workflows that you need based on the type of chemistry that you need. Now, I'll let the robot do its thing and finalize working with those 8 samples, but I think you've gotten the gist of how the instrumentation works So let me just call your attention back to the software for a moment.